The Garden Report is powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report Finals Edition. We got kicked out of practice, so here we are in the concourse. We're going to talk about Kristaps Porzingis before Game 1. He officially announced today that he's going to play in Game 1 after being a little more tentative with it yesterday at practice. We actually saw him out on the floor for a few minutes before we started recording here, testing out both legs, trying to shoot off both of them. A bunch of guys we talked to here today said that they were trying to do some higher intensity stuff, integrate them, defensive movement, stuff like that over the last couple of practices going into today. And Kristaps' big thing, Noah, is that he's going to try out the conditioning, the readiness aspect of this. But in terms of the injury, it seems like he's past it.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of gamesmanship where we're not exactly sure if everything that they're saying is 100% reality, but it sounds like the injury is mostly healed. He's taken his time. I would guess he probably could come back a little bit earlier than he did and benefited from this big break between the finals and the Eastern Conference Finals. And I know Xavier Tillman said he looks like himself, generally speaking. And so it seems that the pieces are kind of coming together, and I would expect us to see a version of Kristaps Porzingis that is pretty similar to what we come to expect, starting tomorrow.
Josue, Al said at one point that he's a game player. Like, you see one thing from Kristaps in practice, you see where he's at in those environments, but come game time, he's going to rise to another level. And that's what it's going to have to be, right? Because as long as he's healthy, it's just going to be about his level of compete, his level of conditioning, and his ability to just get back in the flow of things and be comfortable, as we talked about last night.
Well, yeah, getting back into playoff basketball. I mean, to be removed the way he was for that long, over a month, guys have been playing at a very high level, especially the Dallas Mavericks, what they had to do to get to this point. I mean, the same could be said about the Celtics. However, I just think with Kristaps, he's just so eager to get started because this anticipation is killing him. I think he just wants to get out there, see how his body responds, and then go from there. But this, the hype, the NBA Finals, the what happened in Dallas question, why didn't you work out with Luka? Like, he's not trying to get into any of that, I feel like. And that's the way you should approach this, because his focus is on how he's going to bounce back, how his body was going to respond. And obviously that initial game 1, is going to be the biggest test. So we'll see.
I want to give a shout out to our two sponsors, Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS for a 100% deposit match. Up to $100, and of course, get a free Jason Tatum square for Game 1. 1 day left to do that. 45 points. All you gotta do is score 1 point if you're Jason Tatum to get the more on that, and then pair it with something else. So that's prizepicks.com/CLNS. And Game Time, use the code CLNS for a $20 discount on your first purchase. Terms apply. Noah, how important do you think Kristaps is going to be to this series overall? Like, how big of a role and how important is his level of play going to be in the outcome?
I mean, obviously it's going to be important, right? Offensively, defensively. He was a very important part of this team. It's funny because right before he went down, I think both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum said he's the single most important player to our team, to what we're trying to do. And I remember posting that, and all the replies were like, they're jinxing him, and he literally got hurt the next day. And so I do think he is one of the most important players on this team, but I've maintained from the beginning that they don't need him. They have enough without him. It doesn't mean they're going to get it done without him, because anything can happen in a 7-game series against a very good basketball team in the NBA Finals, but I do think they still have enough without him. My concern is less that he's going to come out tomorrow and not play well. I just worry when you're tentative about something and he's already very injury prone and it's going to be playoff level basketball. I worry about tweaking something else, re-injury. I don't even want to put that out there, but that's kind of how this stuff goes. And he's already somebody that we were worried about whether he was going to be able to get through this playoff run. I think you're kind of back to that point of okay, he's clear tomorrow, but he clearly has some things that are lingering. He's not in 100% game shape. He can't possibly be. And so I'm more we're going to be watching him a little bit gingerly of can he stay out there, basically, because you'd love to just roll with him and Al and not have to go deeper into the bench.
Well, that's a legitimate concern, though. I mean, we're talking about a 7-footer whose career has been plagued with injuries since his early 20s. I mean, those type of things don't just go away. And I think going into this season, pretty much, we knew that there was somewhat of a shorter window compared to other people. Not to say this is the part where he breaks down for good, but we essentially saw a good 2 to 3 year window where you're hoping that he won't sustain any injuries. But here we are, right? He had that one season in Washington where it was completely injury-free. And then, here we are at this point in the season, and you're able to sort of minimize the effect because you're able to put him back into the fold. However, it's not going to be the same version of him. But like Noah said, though, this team is talented enough that they can still beat this Dallas Mavericks team without him. But it's a humongous advantage if you have someone like that. But look, I'm looking at what Kristaps will look like in game 3 or 4. Again, I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock into what he looks like in game 1. However, if something is re-aggravated or if he's limping off the floor at some point, that wouldn't surprise me as well.
I can't wait.
It's high-level basketball. He's been out.
I can't wait to just see what he looks like right off the bat in game 1, because they're going to go right at him first possession on defense. They're going to try to get him involved pretty early on offense. And is it going to be smooth? Are you just going to see him roll the rim and dunk and block a guy on the other end? Or are you going to see him move and not quite right and be like, uh-oh, here we go?
Clunky. You might get a little clunky.
That's the
clunky
thing.
Kristaps.
That could go in either direction.
And it's not just him. And I again, he is injury prone more so than most. But think about how many stars we lost during this playoff run to injury. Yeah. And it's really hard. Like Damian Lillard, he came back from one thing. Next thing you know, it was Achilles. Like, this is just a ripple effect. It's how the human body works, right? We're so lucky to follow and cover stars that have been so healthy, like during their careers. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I think I saw that Tatum has never missed a playoff game. Like, that's absurd. But to me, the whole time, the biggest X factor with this team is if they can stay healthy. I think they win this thing. And so that just remains the X factor. And again, he's going to be at the top of the list of injuries. But I mean, it applies to everybody. It's just that he's the one that obviously is going to come off of not being in game shape and having lingering things and being the 7-footer.
I think just naturally, sorry, I just want to get this in real quick. I just think naturally that's why this anticipation is killing him so much, because I don't think he's worried about being in the moment and how to perform. I just think he's afraid of his body not being there with him mentally. You know what I mean? Like, that's a humongous blow. And he's already talked about it today, how just being sidelined this entire run essentially since game 3 of the first round matchup against the Heat is devastating. But all he can do now is look forward, and we'll see what he looks like in game 1.
Like we talked about last night, it's more mental, more his comfort level at this point than it is medical concern, injury concern at this point. So you still wonder, what version of Kristaps are you getting? And if it's not quite the full Kristaps, does that impact this team and how they're playing right now, trying to integrate him back in? It really could go in a great direction if he's a huge boost, or kind of shake up the success that they've had so far. So we're going to see it tomorrow night, game 1, 8:30 here at TD Garden. Noah, Josue, myself, Nick, Amit, John, the whole crew,
the whole gang,
the whole CLNS Media crew, Rich LeMay, our videographer as well. I'm Bobby Manning. This has been a finals edition of the Garden Report. Check out our great sponsors, HelloFresh. My box is waiting at home right now. I can't wait to see what I got.
I just cooked my last meal.
And I know one of them is going to be a free appetizer.
HelloFresh held me down this entire week, so shout out to them, because I just finished all 3 meals.
And not only are they sending the meals, the customizable meals and everything you expect, they're throwing in a free appetizer for life as long as you're a subscriber to HelloFresh. So go to HelloFresh.com/gardenapps and get in on that right now. That's HelloFresh.com/gardenapps. And go to Nutrafol. Nutrafol right now offering you a discount on your first month over there. Keep the hair. Keep it going. We all need it. And
someone's so mad at you right now for doing that. It's someone that used to be able to do that who can't do it anymore.
Well, that's why you should
get
ahead on it before it happens with Nutrafol. Nutrafol.com/garden for a discount on your first month over there. She's Noah Dalzell. Check her out at CelticsBlog.com. He's Josue Pavon. Check out the Cedric Maxwell podcast, as well as him here on the Garden Report. And I'm Bobby Manning. This has been a finals edition of the Garden Report. We'll see you at game 1.
Josue Pavon here, CLNS Media, and if you made it this far, that means you really like this video. So hit subscribe, make sure you keep our notifications on, damn it, and we got plenty of great content coming your way.